Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. Thanks for joining me. So in today's video, a lot of you have been asking for a room tour update. So this is what we're going to do today. Now I hope you're all doing really well from all chaos that's going on across the world with coronavirus. We are currently locked down in the UK, so giving me plenty of time to try and keep on top of these tanks, get some things done that we wouldn't normally have got done. I'm unfortunately working from home as well, so I've still got a job to do in between. But I'll try and keep you updated on what's going on around here as much as I possibly can. Hope you're all doing really well and keep yourself entertained and finding things to do. I'm hoping that content on this channel will help you, and I'll add the links to some of the playlists at the end of this video, so if you want to go and binge watch some of that, I'd be really grateful. But as always, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, if you'll please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, that really helps me out. For those of you who are regulars to this channel, please do what you do and hit that like button, share and comment, and do anything you can to show YouTube you're enjoying this content. But I think that's enough of me waffling on. Let's crack on with today's room tour. Okay, so I thought we'd take a look at Castro's tank first. So Castro is a Cuban night anole. I believe it to be a female. I haven't had her sexed yet, but she seems that she's probably displaying more traits to be a female. She's got quite a small head and probably not as bulky as the males. So last time we took a look at this tank, we did a quick update on it and just went through some of the plans for it. As you can see, the tank's still sat on the floor. I was planning on getting a couple of people around here to help me lift it onto its stand, which is behind it. But obviously with everything going on with the coronavirus, I haven't been able to do that. So hopefully that will look a lot nicer in this room once it's up on its stand. And as you walk through the door, you'll see her at sort of more head height. So I'm a bit annoyed I can't do that at the moment, but we'll just be patient and persevere with that. Nothing's massively changed with this tank. Obviously we've been keeping on top of the plants. We added some new plants in the last video, so those are doing fine. We had some bromeliads and some pothos, those are doing great. She's doing well herself, as you can see. She's massively grown. When I first had her, she could fit on one of the leaves of the pothos without even bending it. At the moment, she's over the size of my hand, as you can see. But she's eating really well, shedding, drinking, doing everything she needs to do. I'm feeding her on crickets at the moment mainly, and she's getting fruits as well, which are usually blueberries, raspberries or strawberries, but she seems to really like blueberries and strawberries. But this tank's pretty easy to take care of. This is a bioactive setup. We've got some springtails in there and some wood lice as well. Obviously they take care of a lot of the mess. As you might have seen in the last video, do have to clean the leaves off if she does go to the toilet on the leaves, but that's pretty much it. It's quite an easy tank to stay on top of. I spray it and mist it maybe 2 to 3 times a day, and I do that manually. I haven't set up my Mist King system yet, and we'll do that in the future. But in terms of the equipment, so she's got a Arcadia T5 compact, the new style bulb. And that provides UVB, which obviously that she needs. And I've got a heat lamp in there, which is a 50-watt bulb. And she's also got a Reptile radiator in there as well, just for the ambient temperature drops in the night time. But I think that's enough on this tank. Let's move on to the next. Okay, so for those of you who are new to the channel, this is my 20-gallon NANO community tank. So this is the tank that used to house my angelfish and the community tank in the past, so that was back in the old room. In this tank we house 15 Harlequin Raspora, and we've got 10 Celestial Pearl Dinos or Galaxy Raspora in there. We've got a handful of red cherry shrimp, and we, as I mentioned in the last update, we did lose the Sparkling Pearl Gourami, which is unfortunate. Now, for those of you who've been following the channel, you would have seen that I set up a clown killifish tank a little while ago in a nano tank. I wasn't actually enjoying the fish in there, and they weren't doing too well in there. I did buy 4 pairs, and I've only managed to have 2 pairs that survived. So I was getting a little bit fed up with that tank. I wasn't getting much enjoyment from it, so I decided to move the killifish into this tank. Now, since I've done that, I really enjoyed the killifish a lot more. I enjoyed them anyway, but they probably didn't display the best in the tank they were in before. But now with some ditterfish and some other things going on, they seem to be a lot braver and they're out and about a lot more. And I've really enjoyed them since being put in this tank. So much so I might even consider getting another pair, but I don't know, see what you guys think. In the last update we did on this tank, obviously we did trim back some of the moss. We did a little bit of maintenance on the algae. As you can see, we're still getting a little bit of issues with diatoms, but I've been trying to stay on top of that with water changes. We still got a little bit of algae growing along the back, some green algae and some brown algae, but we're staying on top of that, and we are slowly winning the battle. For this tank, it's a once a week water change, which is about 40 to 50% water change. Obviously, because I had fertilizer in there, I need to make sure that I reset the balance of the water at the end of the week. and then obviously continue to fertilise. At the moment I'm using Flourish General Fertiliser and Flourish XL as a substitute for CO2. Now it's not the same as that, but obviously it does help the plants grow slightly. I'll add the links in the description for any of the things that I use or mention today in the link in the description as well, so you can go out and check those out for yourself. But I'll carry on updating you how this tank's going as we carry on trying to combat the algae issues. But I think now is time to move on to the next tank. Okay, so I know you guys have probably seen an update on this tank quite recently, as this was my last video. Obviously in the last video we did a bit of maintenance on the tank and we added some more aquatic and semi-aquatic plants into the tank. So we added some anubias and we added the mondo grass as well as just did a general little bit of tidying up. I'm a lot happier with the way the tank looks. I think it looks a lot better down in that bottom corner now, and the frogs seem to enjoy it and they have a little bit more space to hide. I'm still debating whether I need to put anything up in this top corner because it does start to look a little bit blank, but I am a big fan of the moss. But again, if you've got any thoughts on that, then please let me know in the comment section below. I've noticed of late the frogs are making a lot more noise in the evening and at night time, and it is coming around to their breeding season around about April, I believe it is. So hopefully we may start to see some breeding activity, or we might just see some displaying and even potentially get some tadpoles. But obviously I'll keep you up to date on that, of course, if anything does happen. But I'm not going to talk too much about this tank because we've already covered it in the most recent video. But again, it's just a simple paludarium setup with the waterfall, which is run by a filter. There's no additional heating in this tank because the frogs don't tend to like it, and the ambient temperature in this room is enough for them. The only thing I have is the UVB bulbs at the top. Now the plants or the frogs don't eat UVB. It's just the fact that I have this unit, it fits this tank, and obviously it helps with the plant growth as well. But I think now we've taken a look at this tank recently, we'll move on to the next tank. Okay, so this is Bruce, the betta fish. So for those of you who've been following the channel, obviously we've had him since the start of this year. We set up the scape and we did a little bit of experimenting with the Monte Carlo in the tank. As you can see, the Monte Carlo is still doing really well. Obviously the plants are still growing in relatively well. I think the crypts are starting to die off a little bit with some yellowing. I've tried to add some Flourish XL, see whether that will help with them. The algae issues seem to be a lot better in this tank at the moment. As you can see, the hydrophilia don't have as much algae on them on their leaves as they did. And as well as the bulbitis, that was looking a bit dirty, wasn't getting much airflow, and we're starting to grow a lot of algae, which we're starting to get on top of that now. But this tank gets a once a week water change, which is usually about 50%. Obviously it gets fertilizer, which again is Flourish and Flourish XL. And I feed probably once every other day. And that seems to stay on top, and I give them a variety of food from flakes, small pellets, to frozen bloodworms, brine shrimp, daphnia, whatever I have in a freezer. But I'm still really enjoying this tank at the moment. There's no big changes coming up for this tank at all. I may look at adding a couple of more small detailed plants in there, but nothing this of major importance. But the main thing is I'm really happy with the Monte Carlo's grown without the addition of pressurized CO2. And the electrical setup on this tank is pretty easy as well. I've got a, I think it's an Interpet LED light at the top, a small internal filter and a non-adjustable heater in there, which seems to do the job well. They're quite small and discreet. But not much to update you on this tank really. Bruce is doing really well. I'm really happy with him. He's growing and obviously looking as beautiful as he is. But let's crack on with the next tank. So we moved over to the NANO rack. Now I'm not going to show you the top two tanks, one because one is just pretty much full of plants and Gary and you can't really see in it at the moment because I'm going to be doing a scape very soon. As well, the tank underneath it was the old killifish tank, which like I mentioned when we looked at the 20 gallon, the killifish are now in there and we do have a new inhabitant for that tank, but I'm not going to show you yet. We'll dedicate a video to that and that's probably going to be in the next video that's coming up. But we'll take a look at the Ember Valley tank, which we set up a couple of weeks ago. That's doing really well at the moment. There have been a couple of little changes. Obviously we moved it from my desk when we initially set it up over back to its position on the shelf, which I think looks really good. I've added a smaller piece of polystyrene underneath so it's not quite as high, and I'm looking to try and get some black mats to make that look a little bit nicer. The tank looks a little bit dead at the back at the moment because obviously the front is full of Anubias and we've got some wavy greens in there as well. The plants at the back obviously need to grow up and out, but that will take a little bit of time, and I'm hoping then once they do that, we'll have sort of a foresty, greenery looking area. But I did add a couple more ember tetras in there, which have been in quarantine for 4 weeks. They're in there now, so we had an additional 4. I'll keep an eye on how they're getting on, but they seem to be happy enough as it is. If I need to remove any, I will. But at the moment, it seems to be really well. I'm just looking forward to this tank growing out and starting to look full potential. But we do also have some blue dream shrimp in there as well, which we still got 5 in there. And they seem to be ticking along nicely, cleaning the tank for me, making sure they stay on top of the algae, which is great. But again, a very simple setup. We've got a small internal filter in there, as well as this smaller non-adjustable heater again. The light is just a strip LED aquarium light that's attached to the top of the shelf. And I've added a lid on there, which is made out of acrylic sheets as well. But again, not much update on this tank. And let's move on to the next. Okay, so let's take a look at the main man himself, Bert. So Bert is my male panther chameleon. Bert's coming up to just over 5 years old now. He's currently in this XL Reptile enclosure, which he did used to be housed in Castro, the Cuban Nightingale's tank, and obviously we swapped it out then to get some more ventilation and as well to give him an upgrade. Now Bert's, like I mentioned in my last video, I noticed he had some sort of like spot horn-like thing on his head. I did arrange a vet's appointment, but due to all the chaos with coronavirus, the vet's appointment did actually get cancelled, unfortunately. Now, I'm not massively concerned with Bert. He's still as he normally is. He's eating, he's getting about, he's drinking, going to the toilet, shedding. He seems to be himself. The only thing that you can see is if you have a look at that little lump on his head, which I believe this is a condition called papilloma, which is a, well, like you see, like a small wart that can be formed on their head. And they can also get around their mouths and on their face. It isn't causing any difficulties at the moment because sometimes they can go off their food from it if they get warts in their mouth, but he seems to be doing fine at the moment. The only thing he does from time to time is he does try to scratch it, but as long as he doesn't open that wound up, then we should be okay. I'm still going to continue to try and get a vet's appointment, but obviously we're going to have to wait until everything dies down with what's going on at the moment. He doesn't seem to be suffering from it at all, like I said, but I just want to make sure that he's okay. As I imagine you can understand, I've had him a long time and we'll make sure this little guy's okay. But I'll keep you up to date on what's going on with that and if I find out any more. But of course, if you know a little bit about this and you want to add any information or you want to add any advice, then please don't hesitate to comment in the section below. But this setup's now been running since he's moved into this house. And as you can see, the ficus tree in there is starting to die back a lot, as you can see by the leaf litter on the bottom. So we may look to replace that soon. I am looking to try and spruce this tank up a little bit. I think it looks a little bit sorry for itself at the moment. Don't know what we're going to do, but I'm probably going to try and make sure that we move some of these tanks around and get them in their final positions before I look at this enclosure. But he's got a T5 bulb at the top. We've got two ceramic heat lamps as well as a heat light. So that's running his tank at the moment. That's on a thermostat and he runs about 29 degrees in the basking area. And obviously he's got a temperature gradient then throughout the enclosure. I keep his lights on for roughly about 11 hours a day. And I spray him down about 3 to 4 times a day. But a bit of a strange update for Bert, but I'm hoping he's going to be okay, and I'm hoping that we can get a vet's appointment for him very soon. But like I said, I'll keep you updated on that. But I think that's enough on this tank. Let's take a look at the last enclosure. Okay, so the last tank we're going to have a look at is my 40-gallon tank, which holds my angelfish and my discus in. Now, I talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago. Obviously, we added the discus, which is a bit of an impulse buy, but obviously we've got the setup to house them now as well. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get any wood before we got shut down because of coronavirus, so that would have been nice that we could have built the rack for that setup and, you know, made some real progress in this room, but there's plenty of things we can crack on for in the meantime. I am planning on removing some of these fish and probably looking to drop them off at a pet shop. Obviously we've got the rummy-nosed tetra in there, we've got the black phantom tetra as well. We've got Hank the tank, which is my Sylphin-Pocosmus, and he's probably going to have to go, unfortunately. And eventually then we'll add the discus and the angelfish into the 50-gallon, and obviously we'll try and upgrade that to a 60 in the future minimum. But they're getting on fine at the moment. Obviously Discus do better in bigger groups, but they seem to be happy in their group of 3, and they do school with the angelfish as well, and they seem to be going on really well together. The koi angelfish in there is probably going to go as well. Unfortunately, he has stunted growth. He's never really grown since I've had him, and it's a genetic thing they're probably not going to be able to do anything about. So obviously reducing the stocking in there will help obviously the fish. I'm doing water change in this tank probably once every other or every 2 days, just to make sure we stay on top of it. But it is a bare bottom tank, and obviously we've got a 206 canister filter on there, which is by Fluval, and that seems to be staying on top of everything I need to. Obviously if I had sand and substrate and things, it'd be a bit more difficult to keep it as clean as it is. I'm really happy with my Discus. They're really coloured out really nicely now. Obviously when we first had one of them, they did have clouded eye, which was down to poor water quality. It must have been from either when they were transported or from when they're in the pet store. But glad to see now that both the eyes are cleared up from doing just constant water changes, nothing else. I did add some fungal medicine in there as well, which I don't know whether helped at all or whether it's just the water changes. But this is lit up with two T5 bulbs. We've got, like I said, a 206 canister filter on there and a basic glass heater. Other than that, that's all that's running on this tank at the moment. But I hope you agree, a beautiful tank of fish, and I'm hoping now we can get some of these odd fish out of there, which will make them look even better. The only other fish in this tank is the gold nugget Precostomus, which I've had for quite a while, which is called Nugget. He's doing really well, and he's going to stay in with the Discus angelfish when they can move to the 50 gallon as well. But I think that's enough on this tank. I'll rejoin you at the desk. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that room tour. So we've seen pretty much everything that's going on in the room at the moment. Obviously we didn't take a look at 2 of the nano tanks. Like I said, there'll be some videos coming on those very soon. Like I said, I will try and get some more content out as much as I possibly can. At the moment, I'm still sticking to my Sunday schedule. If things go dead with work and I'm not working from home, then obviously that will increase. I hope you're all keeping safe and doing really well with everything that's going on at the moment. I know it's difficult for a lot of people, but I'm hoping that providing you some content will try and bring some joy to your day, I hope. But it really helped me out if you guys could put some suggestions of things you want to see going forward, any videos that you'd like me to make, and I'll try and get on top of those as soon as I can. I still managed to get some deliveries in just before everything closed down, so we'll try and get some little projects on the go as well, so we'll get some builds and some aquascapes done in between. Also, I want to try and get a shelf built behind me, but unfortunately I couldn't get wood for everything closed down, so some things I have to wait on hold, like you've seen with Castro tank is still on the floor. I haven't been able to get anybody around because of quarantine to help me lift it. But I thought it was quite a good idea to do a room tour video for this week. Also, we've just reached over a year point we've been in this room. Obviously, for those of you who've been following the channel from the beginning, obviously the other room is a lot different. Obviously, there's a lot gone on since. We've got some new animals, enclosures, and we've obviously lost some as well. So I thought a good chance for us to recap and look at what this year's brought. I'm hoping this room is starting to get together the way that you would hope that it would, and I'm definitely getting happy with the way that it's coming along. There's still a lot of work to do, but obviously this is going to be an ongoing thing constantly. Whether it'll get to a point where it's finished, I don't know. But as always, thanks very much for watching today's video. Don't forget to hit that like button and leave me a comment. I'll try and get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Also, if you want to see future updates as well, or more updates, then I definitely recommend going to look at my Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. For those of you who do follow me on Instagram, I did put a video out there yesterday of a brief room tour, so just a whiz around the room for about a minute, and there was a new animal in there. So if you want to go and see what is coming up, then go and check out my Instagram. But again, a massive thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed the room, and we'll see you next time.